Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, fueling philanthropic programs and dedicated to creating educational and professional opportunities for Alaska Native people.
The National Weather Service.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Again, the show times, no changes here. 5:30 for APB and KUAC, 360 North, 7:30, 5 a.m. the following morning for Alaska Public Media, and the show's uploaded to YouTube at least by 8 p.m. And for the mornings here, we've got high surf advisories for the Yukon Delta coast. 3 to 4 foot sea levels above normal. That's out for tomorrow. And high wind warning here for St. Lawrence Island, right up through the Bering Strait and along the northwest coast. Look for gusts to 60 miles per hour or more through these areas. And there's also high surf advisories out for those locations as well, with sea levels running 3 to maybe 5 feet above normal. And the other area here over the northern southeast coast, looking for localized Taku winds gusting over 60 miles per hour, at least through the night tonight and into tomorrow. Moving on to satellite imagery from yesterday, system, band of clouds pushed some rain up in across the southeast coast today. Otherwise, the clear weather, north to south, some clouds up along the Arctic coast. Big storm moving up into northwest, or moving northwestward to the Russian Far East, and the front coming and trailing down across the Alaska Peninsula. Then we had the next storm, evident by the clouds gathering southwest of Shimia, that was beginning to push into the area. Otherwise, again, this front kind of stalling out and taking its time as it bumped up against that big ridge of high pressure. And today, just a very dissipated trailing edge dragging down across the peninsula there. Just some clouds held together a little bit better, though, up to the northwest. And then the system rolling up across the western Aleutians and the western Bering Sea. Low center tracking north way out to the west, but the rather intense frontal boundary with it pushing into the Adak area for all the storm force winds and rain in that area. Still not in the precipitation cloud field here for the Unalaska area, and a little bit of light rain got into St. Paul, but the main precip is just back to your west. On the looking at that again, you can see starting out pretty good here over the eastern Bering Sea, and lots of sunshine here over the interior. Again, you get into the clouds off to the northwest, and some clouds, real weak band of clouds here over the Panhandle. Pretty good up to the north. This white area there, areas of snow, but that's north and northeast of the border. And another front pushing its way across the Queen Charlottes this afternoon. Otherwise, dry conditions, gusty winds up across the northern southeast coast there with a high wind warning out, and then high pressure over the interior, much lighter winds all the way down across Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound. Very nice day today, light variable winds. High pressure in over the Copper River Basin, allowing temperatures this morning to drop down to at least 20 below zero in some locations. This is Gulkana, and pretty chilly conditions all the way up into the Yukon Flats. Here's a location of that very weak front now, right through this area, just maybe some scattered showers at most, but it held together a lot better up here to the northwest with southeast winds of 25 to 40 miles an hour, in some cases gusts as high as 50 miles an hour or more today up at Point Hope. And dropping back a little bit here on the wind, well, definitely a lot more than a little, quite a bit as you head down toward the Nunivak Island area. And then this front here with the strong winds and heavy rain, again, gusts anywhere from 60 to 85 miles per hour here across the eastern Aleutians, and a fair amount of rain along with it, about nearly 2.5 inches falling in Adak in the last 24 hours. But pretty narrow band though. By contrast, Atka just picked up 1/100 of an inch, and about that also falling over the Pribilofs. Moving on to the forecast for tonight, no change over the interior, and we've still got 1,030 millibar low here in Canada and lower pressure farther to the south. And again, the gradient, which is mostly lined up across the northern southeast coast, again keeps those localized gusty winds through the passes and channeled areas above 60 miles an hour in those gusts, again, throughout the night tonight and into tomorrow. And variable clouds, maybe a few showers getting spun northwestward here, but nothing too significant. The main rain area associated with that low is still down over the Queen Charlottes, and the front here out to the west, pushing eastward, gradually weakening, but not all that much. I've got rain and wind from the eastern Aleutians, northward with storm warnings all the way up to St. Lawrence Island, and the wind increasing here along the southwest coast, and good warm air flowing northward in those southerly winds. So we're looking at liquid precipitation here as opposed to snow. Maybe a little bit of moisture showing up on the southern side of the Seward Peninsula and also here around the Kilbark Mountains. And then behind that, west-southwest winds, pretty gusty but lighter with showery conditions. And for tomorrow, Tuesday, this system gradually comes northward here with chance of rain showing up, kind of holding over the Dixon entrance area, but look for the chances to increase here over the southern panhandle late in the day. Otherwise, pretty nice on up to the north. Still those gusty winds, but tending to diminish a little bit there, but still the channeled areas, you'll see some pretty good gusts. Light winds across the North Gulf Coast with virtually a very slack gradient into Prince William Sound. Clear conditions, lots of sunshine up to about the Brooks Range there, and it should be pretty clear along the central and eastern Arctic coast and North Slope, and a few clouds through the western areas, and then out to the coastline here, this front edging inland. So we've got storm force winds here for St. Lawrence Island and down to Nunivak Island. And then tomorrow afternoon, as that front pushes inland, they'll become a little more west-southwesterly or just southwesterly and drop down below storm force levels. Less wind down across Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula, but still a fair amount of rain here for Cold Bay on up to maybe Nelson Lagoon and those areas. A break here for the Aleutians. Lots of showers, gusty winds as a trough swings across the Bering Sea and central Aleutian areas. And then for Wednesday, we've got a system actually formed on that frontal boundary. New low pulls northward and deepens here. A good shot of rain and wind will swing into Kodiak Island, getting a little more showery as you head toward evening on Wednesday, and areas of rain across Bristol Bay, and then a mixture of precipitation here across the southwest interior. Look for showers from the Alaska Peninsula, mainly on the Bering Sea side down to the eastern Aleutians. Higher pressure, a break here for Adak and Atka. The next system rolling in with some gale force winds and rain out to the west. Otherwise, southwest flow keeps it mild here over the northern Bering Sea with areas of light rain or snow right up across the Seward Peninsula, and maybe some light snow here up over the northwest areas with pretty gusty winds continuing, but down from what they'll be tomorrow. Light winds over the eastern interior again, much like we saw through the weekend and today. Again, Wednesday and also tomorrow here with overnight lows below zero in many areas to as much as 20 or 25 below in some locations. Well, on the southeast coast, a couple of weak troughs come northwestward here. The main low centers down to the south, so that return flow, maybe a few showers associated with them as they pass northward, but nothing really significant at all. And again, the rain here staying south of the Kenai Peninsula, the way it looks at this point in time. So it'll stay mostly clear with good flying conditions for Prince William Sound all the way over to Yakutat. Temperatures across the panhandle today, lower 40s to mid 50s, 41 Skagway, 55 down at Metlakatla, 54 for Klawock and Sitka with 52. Otherwise, mid 40s most other locations. Yakutat had 50, Cordova, Valdez 39, 29 at McCarthy. 8 degrees at Northway. There's a 21 up there at Fairbanks. Otherwise, Palmer right around the freeze point. 35 Kenai, warming to 41 at Homer. Near 50 here for Kodiak Island. Farther north, 9 at Fort Yukon, just 2 above 0 here for Arctic Village, but Umiat 13, warmer along the Arctic coast there with Barrow at 22. And of course, with the southeast winds mostly in the 30s here over the northwest areas. Kotzebue though at 25, 36 for Wales, 35 Nome, and temperatures here across the southwest along the Kuskokwim River, 18 at McGrath, warming up to 41 out toward Bethel, and then 48 at Macoriac. Alaska Peninsula, upper 40s to lower 50s here, ranging from 40 at King Salmon to 50 at Unalaska and Atka, 54 at Adak, and then down to 37 behind the front out at Shimya. Lows for tonight, 30s to maybe lower 40s here for the Panhandle, and again down below 0, Copper River Basin across northward to the Brooks Range. And single numbers and teens again here for south central Alaska, not much different from this morning, 20s and 30s. To the west, lower 40s here along the coast, Nunivak Island to Gamble, mid 40s for the Pribilofs and the Aleutians. Highs for tomorrow, mildest here on the western Arctic coast, sliding above freezing at Point Lay, and pushing 40 here over the Kotzebue Sound area to mid 40s there at Nome, and mid 40s here, and then all the way down to Bristol Bay, near 50 for the Alaska Peninsula, 45 to 50 for the southeast coast here, mostly over the southern area, a little cooler to the north, and teens over the eastern interior, 30s for south central Alaska. Tomorrow's flying weather, good VFR here, much of the Arctic coast, all the way down to the Gulf of Alaska and the Panhandle, and then with that front coming in, edging its way inland, there'll be some IFR here from the southern Seward Peninsula right on down across the Yukon Delta, northern Bristol Bay. Look for some IFR also for the Alaska Peninsula, a break, and then some more lower stuff with maybe some IFR. It looks like it's pretty restricted to the Nikolsky area, but marginal conditions from there to St. Lawrence Island. And then tomorrow afternoon, that continues to press inland, and the IFR area actually expands here from Togiak Bay, Dillingham, northward, mostly across the southern Seward Peninsula, and then back along the northwest coast. Lots of VFR forecast out west, and nothing but VFR here for the remainder of the interior, Gulf of Alaska, in across the southeast coast. And Atuvik, same forecast of these passes we've seen now for a day or so, all VFR. Rainy, Celine's visibilities unlimited, same forecast from Windy, Isabel open, VFR Mentasta, Tanita VFR, Portage VFR, Chilcoot and White VFR. Freezing levels, again with mild, strong southerly flow. We've got big push of warm air, 10,000 feet up there to Unalaska over to Falls Pass, and then a surge of warm air, got 4,000 to 6,000 foot freezing levels late tonight, tomorrow morning, right up over the north slope in the Arctic coast, and then dropping back out to the west. Looking at icing, areas of light to isolated moderate rime icing, Alaska Peninsula above about 8,000 feet here, and that slides on north-northwest into the Chukchi Sea, where it drops down to about 4,000 feet, and then areas of icing out to the west, mostly above 5,000 feet. And then with that moisture moving mostly restricted to Dixon entrance here over the southern southeast coast, so any of that would be above about 5,000 feet. Jet stream, very strong, narrow ridge of high pressure here, right up across interior Alaska. Northerly winds 70 to 90 knots right along the eastern border here, plunging southward across the Gulf, and then a strong southwest jet of 160 knots in across the eastern Aleutians, and that sails northward there right on up into the Arctic. 9,000 foot wind flow looking something like this, still pretty gusty, southwest 35 to 50, southerlies at 60 knots there coming across western Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island. 25 knots central Arctic coast is 45 knot wind edging eastward to the Kuskokwim Mountains. Lighter winds southern Alaska, northeasterlies 15 to 30 for the southeast coast, and westerlies 30 to 45 knots for the Aleutians. Much the same pattern flow-wise here at 3,000 feet, 20 to 30 knot winds for the Aleutians. Southerlies 50 to 55 knots right up into the Bering Strait, 40 knots there across the Selawik Valley, 35 the Kuskokwim Valley, and then dropping back to the northeast. Some of these easterly could be a narrow band there, it's up to 30 knots. Otherwise, light over southern Alaska, and northeast 10 to 15, maybe 25 knots for the panhandle. And turbulence, moderate chop here over the northern southeast coast, light to isolated all the way down to Dixon Entrance, and then severe here across the Seward Peninsula and from Kivalina to Cape Lisburne. Moderate chop southward across Kuskokwim Bay to near Togiak, and also along the Alaska Peninsula. And out to the west, moderate chop here with those gusty west winds, mostly from Kiska on out to Attu. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor. On behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, thank you to Alaska Public Media for sponsoring Hangar Flying. We are glad you could join us this evening. We're happy to have Rachel Alsop back on the program. She's going to be talking to us about careers in aviation and maybe give us some safety tips. Welcome back, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Mary. I'm glad to be here.
On our last show, we talked a little bit about how you got involved in piloting, but also a little bit about your background in the family business and the mechanic side of aviation. Can you tell us what other types of jobs that you've had that led up to your airline pilot job?
Well, I've had lots of different jobs, mainly to pay for my flight training, and not all of them in aviation. But the jobs that I have had regarding aviation, everything is kind of built upon each other and helped me in my career.
And you did some flight instruction?
Yes, I did a lot of that, and that was really fun, and I really enjoyed that, and definitely has helped me a lot.
Was all of that in Anchorage?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see. For somebody who maybe didn't come from an aviation family, and they think that they might like to be a pilot or even a mechanic, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Well, probably just hang around the airport as much as you can and be involved in just helping to wash airplanes. Just being an airport bum is a real great place to start and make friends. Talking to other pilots is really great. I've always been a little airport bum and always hanging around.
And you've always had a good excuse.
Yes, yes.
And airports that you mostly hung around, you worked for a while in Fairbanks.
Yes, I did.
As well.
Yes.
Did you have any experiences there that you think left a mark in your memory and will help you be a better pilot?
Very much so. The type of flying I did in Fairbanks was a lot of IFR, a lot of stuff on the North Slope, which was very new for me, and I learned a lot up there. And yes, it's definitely going to help me throughout my career.
And what kinds of airplanes were you flying there?
A Navajo.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And do you miss that kind of flying at all? It sounds very stressful.
It was very challenging and it was very fun. It could get stressful at times, but I definitely enjoyed the challenge. And I had a lot of fun doing it.
It sounds like it was a good thing to do at that point in your career.
Yes.
And you learned what you did and
Yes.
moved on.
Yes, yes, yes it was. I was happy to come back home.
Is there any one experience in your background that you feel prepared you for your current job as a commercial pilot?
I think probably not one experience. There's a whole lot of little ones that kind of just, like I said, they build on each other. And you know, you make one stupid mistake and you never make that again, type of deal. But I think working in the propeller shop was probably one of my best experiences, and just that was really great.
It seems like that would be the opportunity to hear a lot of stories about how not to maybe dent or bang up a propeller.
A lot of different opinions are voiced there, yes. And so it was great to hear that. You hear the mechanic side and the pilot side, and it was just, yes, it was really good.
A great opportunity for hangar flying.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there one safety message or a piece of advice that you would have for pilots, whether they're general aviation or commercial pilots in Alaska?
Well, speaking from my own experience, what I just try to remind myself is to stay humble, and always there's always room for improvement and to keep learning. In aviation, there's always something new to learn.
And what about advice for passengers?
For passengers, I think that are flying a lot with friends and family in small airplanes, maybe ask some just really general questions. Maybe, how does the radio work? Things like that. Just be aware. I mean, it's great to ride in little airplanes and have fun, but yeah, just ask a couple little questions, and your pilot should be more than happy to tell you anything. I'll talk your ear off if you ask me anything. Don't worry.
No, I think you're right. Situational awareness is good for pilots as well as passengers.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Mary. Same here.
And good luck with your career, and we look forward to seeing you around Merrill Field.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Hangar Flying. We appreciate your support and the time that you spend with us. Until next time, fly safely.
Looking at today's sea ice analysis, this area from around Barrow eastward, this is all inside the barrier islands. Off here to the northwest, this area about 1 to 3/10 ice in areas. There are some open portions in there, but with the southerly winds coming in over the next several days, most of this zone will be annihilated. Otherwise, everything kind of holding a steady status quo over the northeast Norton Sound, Kotzebue Sound areas. On to the Marines, northeasterlies, 20 knots on the south coast, north-northeast up to 30 to the north there with 7 to 8 foot seas, all the way down north 30 for Stevens Passage. A good stiff 40 knot northerly there for Northern Lynn Canal, and back down to 15 for Clarence Strait. And then the next day, those swing around to the southeast here in the south at about 30 knots, turning easterly to northeast and dropping down to 20, and even down to 15 for the north coast. Lynn Canal down to 25 knots now, and Stevens Passage at 20. For the North Gulf Coast tomorrow, light variable winds 10 to 15 knots, or maybe even 5 to 15 knots there. Barely a breeze for Prince William Sound, although probably some gusts coming out of the channeled bays up there. Northeast 10 for Cook Inlet, otherwise variable conditions right down through Shelikof Strait. And looking at Wednesday, pick up in the winds here, east 30 knots on the east side of Kodiak Island, northeast 30 blowing through Shelikof Strait. Small craft advisories from Kamishak Bay into southern Cook Inlet with 8 to 9 foot seas, and northeast at about 15 for the areas north of the Forelands, and about the same for Prince William Sound, mostly northeast at about 15. Otherwise, the North Gulf Coast here, easterlies 20 increasing to 25 knots. And for Bristol Bay, south 30 knots, southwest 25 knots here for the Alaska Peninsula with 12 foot seas, and then southerlies at 25 as you head up toward Kodiak Island. For Wednesday, we've got east winds at 25 blowing out of Bristol Bay, swinging around to the northwest at the same speed here on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. South side northwest gales at 35, 14 foot seas, and from Castle Cape to Sitkinak, east at 30 knots with 14 foot seas. Fox Islands tomorrow, west 20 to 25 knots, turning southwest and increasing here to gale force when you get over to Adak and Atka with 16 to 18 foot seas. And then we've got due west 40 knotters here across the western Aleutians with seas 20 to as high as 24 feet. And then going to Wednesday's outlook, south winds, that next storm coming in, high-end gales for sure here for the western Aleutians, low-end gales as you approach Adak and Atka, down to west-southwest 30, west 30 to northwest 30 across Unalaska Island with seas up to 15 feet. And for the southwest coast, southerly winds 20 increasing to 30 knots north of Nunivak Island, gales continuing for St. Lawrence Island and are coming down. They had storms out today. Tomorrow, minimum gales, southeast 40 for the northern Bering Sea, south 30 for the Pribilofs with 14-foot seas. Small craft advisories here from St. Paul and St. George right up to St. Matthew Island, southwest 25, seas 12 to 16 feet. East winds now south of Nunivak Island at 20. Small craft advisories here north side of Nunivak Island up across actually probably all the way up into the Bering Strait. And for the Arctic coast, central and eastern coast tomorrow, southeast 20, 3-foot seas, pretty general pattern here. Small craft advisories for the western coast, and then strong gales here from Wales all the way up to Cape Beaufort, southeast 45 knots, 13 to 14-foot seas. And the prospect for Wednesday is the winds become more southerly and diminish, but still 30 to 35 knots here up to Cape Beaufort, and then back a little bit to 30 knots on the west side. From the central coast, things turn southwest at 20 and extends eastward and over toward Demarcation Point, a little more westerly in the direction, but seas running 4 to 5 feet. And for tonight, clear here, pretty good conditions, Arctic coast, southward to Kodiak, Gulf of Alaska looking really good. Maybe a chance of showers shows up here over the southern southeast coast, and the winds continue, high wind warning there for the area around who receives the Taku winds there, and you know who you are. And out to the west, that front coming eastward, so definitely wind and rain into the Pribilofs, eastern Aleutians, northward. High wind warning out west ends this evening by about 10 p.m. High surf advisories for the Yukon Delta coast and up to St. Lawrence Island, and throw in a high wind warning with that, which should begin to come down late tomorrow afternoon as the front pushes in toward the coast with more gusty winds and rain for the Seward Peninsula, Kotzebue Sound. Another nice day over the interior on the chilly side and for the southeast coast, and then more rain into Bristol Bay on the next day, but staying about the same here for the interior.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Support comes from the University of Alaska College Savings Plan, helping you and your child save for college every step of the way, from diapers to diploma. More information at uacollegesavings.com.
A new vehicle doesn't have to be the end of the road for your old car. Give your ride a new life as part of the Alaska Public Media Vehicle Donation Program. It's easy and tax deductible. Proceeds go to support